Godly Chicks. Oh my gosh. So, before we get into this podcast, I definitely have to unpack. So last night was rough for me. Like, so rough. And I almost didn't make it, y'all. Like, I almost did not make it. I was so tempted to just text, this doctor guy who I told y'all, I was talking to. I was so tempted to just text him. I'd blocked his number a couple weeks ago. But I was just going to, text him and tell him and be like, hey, can you come over? Like, I swear I was this close. Like, y'all, I was about to send that text. I don't know what was going on with me last night, but I needed a hug. I needed some arms around me. I just needed some type of comfort. And I'm not going to even lie to y'all. Like, I even started thinking thoughts that, I haven't thought about in 6-7 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, really thoughts that just, went all the way to the left. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just tell him, to come over and hold me, but when he get here, whatever happens, happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was that weak last night. And I know y'all are like, well, how did you text him if you deleted his number and blocked him? So this is what happened. I got the iPhone 17 Pro because I had a free upgrade with AT&T, and I desperately needed a new phone because of the storage that I had when I traded in my last phone, and I underestimated how much storage I would need, and I was like, oh, I'll just take the 100 gigabytes, because it was the cheaper phone. The most foolish decision I could have ever made, knowing good and well I'd be editing and making videos and just doing a million different things on my phone. Like, really, Takyah, stop it. Not 100 gigabytes. Girl, bye. Like, what you gonna do with 100 gigabytes? By the time you get done downloading apps, 50 of the gigabytes gonna be gone. You ain't even uploaded your pictures. Nevertheless, so I got this new phone, and I transferred everything over, the numbers. Everything was pretty easy, pretty smooth to do. Everything did it right from home. They sent the phone to my door. UPS guy dropped it off. I got it from him, signed for it, and then I transferred everything over. But when I transferred everything over, I guess it unblocked this guy's number, and he had texted me that night as soon as he was not blocked anymore. Now, I don't know if he had sent other messages. I'm sure he probably did, because he was probably like, man, we were just talking and being friends and, chopping it up, and, you cool and I'm cool. We cracking jokes and getting along, and you just disappeared. Like, what in the world? That's some man type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Women don't do that. And I know he was probably scratching his head. So I don't know if he's already texted me before, but when I transferred my phone, this text came through, and I was like, oh my gosh, and it unblocked him when I did the transfer some kind of way. And I knew it was him because of what he typed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord. And I'm like, oh, can I just respond? Can I at least, we only talked for 2 weeks, so I don't owe him this long explanation of why, I can't talk to him anymore. But I at least need to tell him something. You know what I'm saying? At least give him a little bit of closure so he won't think that it's him. Just, hey, just can't talk right now. Not in the dating season. Thought we could be friends, but we can't, blah, blah. I don't know. Just some of that nature so he wouldn't be overthinking. And the Lord was like, no, just no, let it go. Leave him alone, let it go. And so I deleted that message and forgot to block him. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to delete it. And I didn't respond. He's not going to message me anymore. Last night, when I was so freaking weak, y'all, to the point of trembling with passion, trembling with desires that I can't fulfill because I'm not married, if y'all catch my drift. And then just being a little bit sad. I wasn't like depressed or sad, nothing like that, even though I have dealt with that years ago. But no, this was just more of a, I guess it had to be weariness. I've experienced a lot of things, but weariness has been kind of rare for me because y'all know I'm just bubbly. I just be having the joy of the Lord. I always try to find the good in things, even when things are not going the way that I would want them to do. I still try to look for the fingerprint of Jesus in it. And lately, I just haven't been able to see his fingerprint. And I just felt like I was about to crack, like I was about to crumble. There's this song by one of my favorite artists of this time period, at least, Montel Fish, and he said, if you're not with me, I crumble, and he was talking to Jesus. And in this song, and that's exactly like I felt like I was about to crumble. And if I would have texted that man and he would have came over, there is just no telling how that could have ended for me. And I didn't do it. So I fell asleep, actually, which is a crazy thing. I got sleepy out of nowhere before I could text him. And he just texted me Mrs. Love, like Miss Love, like, dang, and I was like, oh my God, I could just text him. And then I'm like, nah, I could just tell him to come over and then, get my little hug and let him hold me for a little bit, knowing good and well, like how weak I was. Girl, that would have turned into something else, and I would have completely went against protocol, y'all. I got rules that's set up. I got protocol. I was that weak to where I was about to throw all of that in the trash for that one moment. But before I text back, I got incredibly sleepy. And I asked the Lord before I dozed off. I actually started speaking in tongues and I cried. And I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, what do I need to do with this? Like, knowing good and well a couple weeks ago, he told me to block him. But since he didn't text, I done got 2 text messages in a week's time. My mind, and I'm weak at this moment. I'm starting to think a little different. Like, nah, maybe this a sign. Maybe I don't need to block him. Girl, that ain't no sign. Stop playing. You know good and well that's the enemy. Anyway, in that moment, I was speaking in tongues and I said, Lord, what do I need to do? And I fell asleep before he could answer me. And as soon as I woke up, like y'all, as soon as I woke up, the Lord said, block him and never text him again. And I'm like, what? But God, he's a funny guy. He's nice. We get along. We be cracking jokes, bouncing off of each other. I mean, he's not my husband, but he could be a cool friend, knowing good and well this man too fine to be a friend. Okay, like, be for real, Takyah. And especially with the way I'm feeling, like, I need me some, if I'm going to have a friend, they got to be ugly. Like, knowing good well I can't have no 6-foot chocolate man with no dimples and white teeth, low wavy haircut, weighing about 200-something pounds, just like I like them. I like big dudes. 6 feet, weighing about 220. Talking about some teeth pearly white and perfect. Talking about some, we can be friends. Girl, get out of here with that mess. Be for real. But anyway, I need to meet some ugly friends. If I'm going to have some guy friends, they got to be ugly. So, and even them ugly ones, if you get too weak, you'll fall for them too. Y'all, I think I can say I have tasted weariness. I've tasted weariness. But anyway, I did what the Lord told me to do, and I was just looking at his contact picture like, oh my gosh, like, Lord, this guy ain't did nothing to me. Why you got to be like this, Jesus? And I just did it, and there will be no more texts coming through, okay? Because I deleted the number completely, totally out of my phone and blocked it before I did it, so I don't even have a way to get it back, and I don't need it back. But I said all that to say, just pray for me, Godly Chicks, okay? Because like I said, I can honestly say that for the first time in my life, since I've been saved, I can say that I have become weary and weak. And I'm just, you know what? I can't be putting everything out there. Never mind. I was going to say something, but yeah, it's just best if I don't. And I Hope I haven't said too much already. But y'all, let me tell y'all about something. Let me tell y'all about something about me. Y'all already know it, but I just gotta reiterate for the sake of new listeners. If you want facades, if you want somebody who's putting on for their city. Oh, I'm a millennial. I couldn't resist saying that. Oh, you want somebody that's putting on for their city, putting on for themselves. Baby, I'm not your girl. I'm not your prophetess. I'm not your minister. I'm not your teacher, your sister in Christ. Ain't none of that. Ain't none of that to you. If you want somebody who's pretending, somebody who's not going to be real, somebody who's hiding all of their flaws, somebody who doesn't talk about the real things that real believers and disciples of Christ go through in their weak moments. You want somebody that's just got this perfect life and where they're posting all these perfect little cute reels, and half the time, soon as the reel turn off, they in a bed crying, but you'll never see it. If that's the type of people that you want to see, even from me, then I'm just not your person. Y'all need to go find the ministries. And I don't know why I'm saying this, but I just feel led to say it. Y'all need to go and find the ministries, that give you that give you the fakeness, the cute, the lights, the camera action, the facades. I'm just not it. I'm just not going to do that for anybody. I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm going to be open, and I'm going to let you know that you are not alone. For those of us who are suffering in our singleness, who are doing it the right way, we don't have a side piece or a that we tapping every now and then, forgive my French, who laying it on us, and we actually, walking in abstinence and doing this thing the right way and pursuing God and taking care of his people and God's sheep while we're waiting on whatever it is that God has for us to manifest, whatever rainbows it is that he wants to shine on our life. While we're waiting on that, in the meantime, and we're suffering and we're in the pit and we going through some stuff, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to share that with y'all. Now, I was just about to say a thought that, I should write that down in a diary or something, because there's some things, and it's not a lot that I hold from y'all, but there are just a couple thoughts and stuff that I'm like, that's a little too raw. You know what I'm saying? I got to keep that to myself. But other than that, 90% of the time, y'all are going to get the real me. Pretty much 100% of the time. But there's, like I said just a minute ago, when I'm about to say something off the wall that I don't know how people would take it or receive it, I just gotta be careful, because I know this podcast is for the masses. It's not just me sharing thoughts with my friends or anything like that. So at the same time, I do have to still be careful. But for the majority, 90% of the time, y'all are going to get 100% of me. You're going to get 100% of me. There is no facade. There is no putting on. It's just Takyah. And I'm true. And I've been saying that for years. People who've been watching me for years, I may have developed and matured in some areas, but I have always been the same. I've always been real. I've always been, clowning, making jokes, cutting up with y'all, getting on my ladies, and getting on myself even now. But it's real. Life is real. So I just want to throw that out there, because I know, some people, I'm talking and I'm saying this stuff and they'll be judging me and trying to throw rocks and stones and, oh, she not that perfect in this. No, I'm very much holy. Don't get me wrong. I'm very much set apart. I'm very much chasing after God and doing as the Bible say, to strive to enter in at the narrow gate. But there are moments, just like I had last night, and even the residue of it today, I'm still having a hard time. But yesterday was horrific. It was the lowest of the low that I've felt in a while. I just felt like sharing that with y'all. And y'all need to know, godly chicks, that you're not alone. You need to know that, because sometimes Satan, he lies to you. He tell you that nobody else is feeling this. You're all by yourself, and you're looking at the reels and you're trying to compare your life to others, which you shouldn't be doing. But nevertheless, I know, that sometimes we all have fallen into that comparison demon and allowed it to speak. And, oh, yeah, she got this. You'll never have that. You'll never be married. You'll never have children. You'll never live in a house. You'll never have have anything to call your own. You'll never be successful. Ooh, nobody's supporting you or your ministry. You'll never be like blah, blah. I mean, he just does that. He's going to do his job. But we got to do ours too. You know what I'm saying? And believe the word of God and hold on to the word of God. But, nevertheless, I just wanted to share that with y'all because it's real out here. Like, it's real. It is real. And sometimes it gets hard. Sometimes the waters get murky. But Jesus, always delivers us out of it. Just like, he did last night. Now, people, I know you can choose to go your own way and do your own thing. I don't really believe that for me. I think that had I even would have texted that guy and told him to come over, baby, he would have had a heart attack on the way, or I would have had a heart attack or something. God would have did something. Like he would have stepped up in this door, baby. Them holy altars lifted up before God, baby. They would have been speaking and crying out against me like, hey, this wickedness she about to fall into, Lord, get her. Like angels would have. Y'all, my life is just so supernatural and just so set apart that I fear God. Like I literally fear him. I have a reverence for him and I love him, but I have a healthy fear of him as well. He's my father and he don't play, yo. He be bringing out that belt. Sometimes that belt, be bigger than what I can handle. You know what I'm saying? So all he got to do is show me the belt and I'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm good, Pops. I'm good. I'm good, Papa. I'm good on it. I'm gonna obey. But nevertheless, it happens. And then not only that, it's just rolling my eyes even while I'm saying this. But another thing that I thought about was my husband. I thought about my husband to be and how that would affect him, how me slipping and, it was so demonic, y'all. I was thinking to myself, yeah, I'm finna tell him to come over and hug me and, whatever happened. And then, I'm gonna use up some of this grace like other folks been saying. Other people been preaching about all this grace we got. Well, I'm finna use it tonight. Like my mind was like warped. Like I knew those were not my thoughts all the way. They were definitely insinuated by, the enemy and by the spirit of weariness and lust and just like feeling like I'm finna just crumble. But nevertheless, I thought about him as well. I thought about my husband. I thought about, man, if I do this, I'm going to have to sit down and tell this man that I did this, and that I did not wait. And I done waited all these years and been practicing abstinence since 2014 and been saving myself, and I give it away to somebody I only knew for a couple of weeks. First of all, it's never going to happen, y'all. I'm just telling you about my weak moment. It's never going to happen. I know they say never. Nah, baby, this ain't ever going to happen. But even with that being said that, it's never going to happen, I still just had a weak moment. But I thought about, me having to sit down and talk to him and tell him that I'm like, nah, I just can't do it. Like, nah, I don't even belong to this dude, like this random, you know what I'm saying, fly by night. Nah, God, you handsome, but you ain't that handsome. Like, not to get me out of my destiny, not to get me out of my calling, not to make me stumble. And then knowing that I want to be able to say, like, to my husband, I waited for you. I waited for you. Like, I actually did it, and on our wedding night, I'm going to let loose. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be locked up for about a good month or two. But, that's what he got to deal with, because it ain't my fault. It done been so long before God then put us together, baby. I'm tired. But, so he going to be locked up, a couple months. Phone going to be on silent. You know what I'm saying, baby? And that's just something he going to have to deal with. Baby, can I at least go out to get some water? No, baby boy, you ain't going nowhere, baby boy. What she say? No, what she say off that movie? Oh my God, y'all, what was that movie? And I got to stop because I'm like almost at 20 minutes and I'm still rambling and we ain't even got to the podcast yet. But what she say off that movie off of Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your drink in the hood when he was trying to run? And she said, nah, Negro, you ain't going nowhere. And she turned into a monster. Like, that's period. Like, that's on period. That's like on, Mary had a little lamb, like that's what he got to deal with, because the girl got some stuff that's locked up, and it need to be let loose, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I thought about him, and I just can't do it. I just can't bring myself to dishonor him in that way. I just can't. Like, I ain't got it in me. I ain't got that in me. I ain't made it. And I'd be devastated, that I didn't wait for him. So I thought about that too. And, let my mind drift a little bit, then start, thinking about, being with him. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't be thinking them kind of thoughts. But it's real. It's real, y'all. It's real. And I would prefer to think about being with him than anybody else, even though I shouldn't be thinking about being with nobody. Amen. But nevertheless, I would rather think that than the former. But I just was like, nah, I'm going to just wait on that. And let me go ahead and block this dude. So, I woke up from a nap. The Lord told me to block him. And I did it. And anyway, let's go ahead and look, let us all take a deep breath. Okay, let's just all take a deep breath, because I need a deep breath. Y'all need a deep breath. And this podcast today is going to hit. And I know I've already been warning y'all for the past few weeks that each podcast would probably be worse than the last one. And I know it's been rough, but my hope is that I can make it so plain, so real, and bring some of this stuff, to you ladies' attention so that you can see how foolish your actions have been, and even your temperament with some of these men who, like I said, should have been blocked a long time ago. And this is not to shame you, but y'all have had enough people lying to you. You've had enough people giving you bad advice, and you don't need me adding to the mix with more foolery. What you need is the truth, and you need it plain, and you need it raw, and you need it as it was given to me, because every podcast, every week has been from the Lord, and, he gives me the topics that he wants me to talk about, and then I execute. So if you have a problem with it, then you have a problem with God, not me, because he's the one that's giving this stuff to me, and he is requiring more out of us. And there's just some things that you gotta let go, sis. Some things that I even gotta let go of, and some mindsets that just cannot go with us into marriage. So while this may sting a little bit, and it may hurt you, and even make some of you, feel dumb because you find yourself in these exact situations that I'm talking about, nevertheless, I'm not trying to make you feel dumb. I'm trying to make you smart and make you better. So with that being said, we're just gonna, go ahead and dive into it. We're gonna go ahead and dive into today's podcast. And today we're going to talk about a woman who's been carrying a man like he's a toddler. The woman who's been paying all the bills, gassing up the car she barely gets to drive, sexing down a man and cooking dinner for him, and all he brings to the table is his appetite. And before, some of you get offended, once again, I am not judging any of you. I am not in the place to judge anyone. Look, I just shared with y'all, some deep sentimental stuff. You know what I'm saying? I just shared that with y'all. I ain't trying to judge nobody. But nevertheless, these types of situations are so prevalent, and I believe that that's why God wanted me to talk about it, because he's sick of it. Like, he's sick of his daughters settling for the mess, and quite frankly, I am too. And I've never, taken care of a man in a sense where I've had him living with me, because, I've always pretty much dated men with wealth who had houses, land, churches, just all kinds of stuff, like they had it going on. However, I have had two guys, back in the day, back when I was young, try to pull the okie dokie on me. And even the clown, that I talked about in that episode, who was talking about he had left his wallet and, tried to do the wallet trick on me. I mean, just stupid stuff. But nevertheless, we are going to shine some light on these one-sided situationships, these counterfeit covenants, and these men who are basically glorified roommates with benefits, because too many of y'all are confusing being used with being chosen, and it's not the same. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into point number one. Point number one. A sign that a man is a leech is that he uses you for survival and not love. This man doesn't love you. He needs you. And not in a help me grow or help me become the best version of myself so I can be a better man for you kind of way, but in a help me survive while I bring nothing to the table kind of way. You become the roof over his head because he doesn't have his own place. You become his chauffeur, or he convinces you to buy him a car in his name, or he takes your car, then drops you off at work and uses it to pick up other women all day long. But whatever the situation is, you become his crutch. You become his personal chef and grocery provider, his emotional regulator and free therapist, and his financial backup plan all in one. And he has absolutely no shame about it. He can lay up in your house, sit on your couch, and scroll your Netflix account all day. Meanwhile, you're out here working double shifts to cover rent, pay for car insurance, pay for health insurance, pay for the utilities, both of y'all cell phone bills, buy the groceries, cook the groceries, pay for the gas, pump your own gas, and a list of other things that he never contributes to. He's jobless, dreamless, and directionless. But somehow, whenever you ask him, hey, baby, how's that job hunt going? Or what are you going to do? He always has an excuse for why he's unemployed, or he hits you with the, baby, I'm working on something. And you already know he ain't working on nothing. The only thing he's working on is perfecting the art of manipulation so he can get some more money out of you. I mean, it's just awful. It's an awful situation. He fakes intimacy. He makes empty promises to you. And he even throws around the words like wifey or future. You know, my future wife, you're going to be my wifey one day. And he does this to keep you emotionally tied and financially supplying his needs. And if you find yourself in a situation like this, it's not a relationship. It's a hostage situation. And as a matter of fact, you know what? Let me make up a new word. It's a ha-station-ship. Oh, Jesus, it's a high-station ship because he's holding you hostage. He's holding you hostage, your mind hostage, and your body hostage, all while pretending to be in a relationship with you. It's a high-station ship. And don't y'all be stealing my stuff, because I be seeing people post stuff and I'll be like, now I just said that a couple days ago. Y'all stay stealing my stuff. Y'all worse than the devil when he be stealing my purity rings. So if you use my stuff, then quote me on it, baby. You know, this coming off the dome. But anyway, it's a hostation ship. This man is a leech of all leeches. And he drains you and drains you. And he'll keep draining you as long as you let him. He'll drain you of your time, your energy, your money, your resources, and your credit score until one day you're just swallowed up. You know, you're like what T.D. Jakes said, have you ever been swallowed? That you swallowed up? You know, everything is gone. And he'll use you until one day you wake up and realize that you are not his woman, but his welfare system. And these men are usually very, very easy to spot because, they start coming over and trying to spend the night a little too often, and they always living with a roommate or a cousin or a friend. They never have anything of their own, not even a one-bedroom apartment. Like, they're always living and leeching off of somebody else before they latch on to you. Like, they be on the verge of getting ready to be put out, of the house by someone else. But because some of y'all just want a man, you don't even pay attention to these things. You don't even pay attention to these signs. There was this woman I knew, and she was dating this guy, and he said that he wanted to chill, he wanted to come over and spend some time with her, and her not thinking anything of it, as most of us wouldn't at first, said, hey, okay, sure, you can come over. And she said when this man walked through the door, this man had these 2 big black trash bags filled with clothes. I mean, the man ain't even have a suitcase, y'all, just 2 big black trash bags filled with all his stuff. Still, she had never dealt with a man like this before, so she didn't think anything about it. Baby, the next thing she knew, one night turned into two, two turned into 20, and 20 turned into 200, and she could not get rid of this man. She didn't even like him anymore. He was not a provider. He had turned her off. He was a total bum, and because he didn't have anything better to do with his time, y'all, this man was putting tape recorders around the house and hiding under beds trying to listen to her conversations. And she said that one night she was washing clothes and she saw the edge of a white t-shirt up under her bed, and she just so happened to be washing white clothes that night. So lolly, she goes to pick up this white t-shirt and she can't get it. It's hard to grip. So she thought, maybe it's stuck on the bedpost or something. So she looks under the bed to pull at this shirt, and she was pulling on this man's shirt, and he pops from up under the bed. I mean, just foolish. And she said she screamed to the top of her lungs. And when he came from up under the bed, he talking about I was just playing with you. I was just playing. And I'm like, no, he wasn't playing. He was dead serious. But he was so idle. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that idle men do. They're just idle, just have nothing to fill their time up with, just foolish and idle. So anyway, she told her mom, and her mama told her, baby, anytime a man coming with some two big black trash bags filled with clothes, you should have known better anyway. And, I said the same thing when she told me this story, but I mean, we laughed about it. But nevertheless, she ended up asking her mom, because she stayed with her, and her mom said yes. And that's how she got rid of him, because he wouldn't leave any other way. And she ended up waiting about a year before she got her own place again. And shortly after her, he was living with somebody else. I mean, just foolish. But anyway, these type of men come with no vision, no vitality, no values, and sometimes no vehicle. But what they do come with is charm and a story that pulls on your heart. It tugs at your heartstrings. And because you're a giver and you're loyal, you start playing wife to a man who treats you no better than a free trial subscription on Netflix. And you think you're helping him get back on his feet. But really, he was never trying to stand in the first place. And I want to give you girls some signs to look out for, and then we're going to move on to our next point. So some signs that you should look out for is if a man always has a struggle story, but never a recovery plan. He'll explain, why life is so hard and life is so unfair and he's just so unlucky, yada, yada. But the thing you will never hear is how he plans to change it, how he plans to rise up to the occasion and put forth this plan to change the circumstances that he finds himself in. You will never hear that. Another thing you need to look out for is if he's only emotionally available when it benefits him. He's sweet when he's broke, clingy when he's trying to get you to buy him something or to put that car in your name for him because he need a ride, but he's distant the moment that you need him. He's also very vague about commitment, but very specific about his needs. So he'll say things like, I don't believe in labels, or like I told y'all before on the last podcast, let's just go with the flow. And the crazy thing is that while he's saying things like that to you, on the other side, he knows what day your paycheck hits. He knows your work schedule and how much money you're bringing in and what you got paid that week, though. I mean, just bomb.com. And I don't mean in a good way. And another thing that you girls need to look out for is that you always feel drained and never covered. Your peace is gone. Your money is low. Your energy is depleted. Your emotional love tank is empty, and you're always tired. But somehow he has all of this energy and all of this time to just sit around the house and do nothing all day. But you look and feel like you've been hit by a train. And that's because you're constantly pouring into a man who cannot and will not pour back into you. It's like pouring water into a broken cup, and no matter how much you pour into it, it'll never fill up. And even if you try to drink out of this broken cup, you'll never be able to get one sip of water out of it because it has 100 cracks in it, and the water is just seeping out and going on the floor. It's just wasting out on the floor. And that's the same with him. I mean, all he does is take. And he never gives you anything. He should have been the star in the movie Takyah, because that's all he do is take. And I got to be real right here. And this is going to hurt. But you are not a rehabilitation center for broken men. You are not his mother, his manager, or his blessing in disguise. You are a woman of worth, and you are allowed to require reciprocity. God even demands it for you, and he himself will never send you a man to leech off of you and say that you need to marry this man. He just won't do it. It's not biblical. It goes against the order of God. So if a man is comfortable watching you grind and work like a Hebrew slave while he chills at home and plays video games, if he's cool with letting you carry the weight of the entire household while he makes excuses, he's not confused. He's not waiting on something to come through, just waiting on this to come through. I'm going to let you know when it do. He's not waiting. He's conning you. That's what he's doing. And the longer you carry a man that God never sent, the longer you delay the one who would have built legacy with you and not used you. And you have got to understand that this type of man is not struggling. He is the struggle, and he's also strategic. And the longer you let him drink from your cup without ever pouring back into you, the sooner you'll find yourself emotionally, spiritually, physically, and financially dehydrated. And you deserve more than that, sis. You deserve more. Number 2, another sign that a man is a leech is that he exploits your loyalty and your wounds. He doesn't choose you because you're weak. In fact, some of the women who take care of these men are some of the strongest women I've ever met. And if they were to disappear, the whole family and household would fall apart. So it's not you being weak that makes him choose you, sis. No, it's your woundedness that makes him choose you. And if I had to pick an animal to represent this kind of man, the animal I would pick would be a shark. Because just as a shark smells blood from a wounded person up to a quarter mile away, so can this man smell you and sense you. He can sense that you don't know your worth. He can sense that you're desperate for love. He can sense that you're craving connection so much so that you'd be willing to trade your standards and your peace to get it. He knows you're the type of woman to love too hard and for too long. He can see that you're the type of woman who will fight for a man even when that man is not fighting for you. He can sense that even though you put on the makeup and the cute clothes and pretend like you're this and that for the public, he can sense that deep down inside, you don't even believe that yourself. And once he senses that, well, he locks in and he sinks his teeth into you deeply, and then he begins to eat you alive. And the beautiful things about you that are supposed to be your strengths, such as your loyalty and how hard you love your man, he looks at them as being weaknesses, and he exploits them, and he even uses them against you. And he does it so skillfully that usually you won't even know what's going on until he's already sank his teeth into you. In the beginning, he becomes everything you've ever wanted. He mirrors your desires. He fake plans a future with you. He talks about the kids and a 2-story house with the picket white fence, and you'll give him a baby name and he'll say, "Ooh, I always thought about naming my daughter that." I mean, you could have told him anything. You could have told him, "I wanted to name my daughter LaShandrika Minya," and he'll say, "Oh, that's so beautiful," knowing good and well LaShandrika Minya is shot to the curb. But because he's still trying to lure you in, he will say anything. He'll even use phrases like, "You're the only woman who's ever really had my back out here." Or my favorite one, "I ain't never met a woman that make me feel like you do. I ain't never met someone like you." Or, "Don't leave me now, baby. I'm almost there. And I promise I'm going to do big things for us one day. I got big dreams, big dreams." He always saying all of that. But it's all bait. He has no plans. He has no dreams for you, sis. He doesn't even have them for himself. And what he does to keep you there and in limbo, or when you start to wake up and see that it's all bull, he'll start poking at your wounds, poking at your insecurities. And he does this because he knows that the minute you heal, sis, the minute you realize you're the prize, the minute you wake up and choose yourself over him, he's done. So he doesn't ever let you get to that point. In fact, he goes out of his way to keep you down. He plays mind games. He love bombs, then withdraws. He gaslights you, then apologizes just enough to keep you confused. And he skillfully magnifies your flaws until eventually you'll feel like you're lucky to have him instead of it being the opposite way around. So in essence, he turns your loyalty into a leash. And by the time you realize that you've been holding on to a man who's draining you, your heart is exhausted, your confidence is bruised, and your self-esteem and self-worth is shattered. And I need y'all to really hear me out right here, because this is breaking my heart to even have to talk about, stuff like this. But a man who needs you low and insecure because that's the only way he feels he can keep you is not your man. In fact, he's not a man at all. If he's afraid of you healing, glowing, growing, and setting standards, he is not your partner. He's your prison. You are not created by God to be a stepping stone for a man's ego or a bandage for his brokenness. And you have to heal so that you can truly get that down in your spirit. You can get that down in your Noah, as the old folks used to say. Because healed women are not easy to exploit, sis. We're not. We see right through the fog, the lies, the confusion, the downplaying us, the nonchalantness. We see through it all, because the truth is you can be loyal, soft, nurturing, and deeply spiritual and still be manipulated if you don't know your worth. But when you know your worth, it's hard for a man to do these things to you. I have even had men talk to me, and in the first conversation, they say, "Oh, nah, you ain't finna play with me. Let me go ahead and, let me leave you alone. You a good woman. You fine, nice body, all that. But baby, I got to go. Let me get out of here." And then they stop talking to me. And do you think I get mad? Do you think I get upset? No, because my self-worth is what ran them away. And if they want a woman who they can easily manipulate and use and take advantage of and be a midnight rendezvous and a booty call for them, then I am not their woman, and they know that. I am not a temporary placeholder. I'm a wife, and every man that I talk to recognizes it. And I remember one man even told me, "Nah, you just ooze out wife, like you just a wife." And I know I got to come correct. Every man that I talk to knows that. And they either try to marry me quickly or they run the other way because they know they have to be a better version of themselves in order to be with me. But they either do one of those two things. It's never in between, because they know they have to come correct. But that doesn't scare me. That doesn't make me want to lower my worth just to say that I have a man. No, I love myself too much to settle. I love myself too much for that. And we all have weak moments. Like I told y'all early in the podcast, I had, last night. But I don't live in weak moments. That was just a moment. And even in that moment, I didn't give into it. But I don't live there. There are some of you who live in weakness. You dwell there. You stay there. And you just let these men do you any kind of way. And you got to do better. You got to start loving yourself to know that you deserve better, sis. You deserve better. Nevertheless, some signs you need to look out for is a man who makes you feel guilty for having standards. Anytime you express a need or tell him what you require, he flips it and accuses you of being too much or doing too much. And that's because he can't afford you. And he's not willing to do what it takes to become the man who can. So instead of him becoming better, he's hoping that if I make her feel guilty, she'll come off these high standards and eventually come down to my level. Another thing you need to look out for is a man who uses emotional manipulation to keep you stuck. If you say you're about to leave him, or, I just can't do this anymore, I got to go, he'll cry, he'll break down. And some of them will even threaten you or cause self-harm just to keep you on edge. And they do this because they hope that this guilt will make you stay. And I know a lot of women, have done this to men before, but there are men as well who do this. And sadly, a lot of these women lose their lives dealing with these type of men who are just just low caliber and dealing with men who have nothing, because it's like you're his everything. And if you leave him, he'll have nothing. He'll have no place to stay, nowhere to go, no food to eat, no roof over his head. And when you do that to a man and you snatch the rug from up under his feet all at once, it can make him panic and turn very, very violent. But that's why when you see a man who's struggling and who's like that, it's just not your job to get involved, sis. You got to let him get himself where he needs to be. And then as he gets there, you help him, you expand that vision. But if he first doesn't have a dream or a vision, there's nothing you can do to give him one. But you don't deserve that. You don't deserve a man who's going to threaten to hurt you or even kill you because he needs you to survive. And if you think you deserve that, I come against that thought right now in the name of Jesus. And I pray that you will release every lie that told you you had to earn a man's love by giving or by suffering first. And I pray that you release every man who only came to feed off of your wounds instead of helping you heal. Point number 3. Now, I'm actually going to talk about this more in depth on another podcast because this is an epidemic with these men today. But another thing we got to talk about is when a man secretly hates you because you reflect everything he's not. And we just have to call it for what it is. Some men don't just use you, sis. They resent you. They hate your confidence, your accomplishments, your ability to thrive without them. And every time you rise, it reminds him of how low he feels. Every door God opens for you exposes the closed, lazy, or missed doors in his own life. But instead of him rising to the occasion, he tears you down. And this type of man is not just insecure, but he's dangerous because he's bitter. And the very woman trying to love him back to life becomes the object of his rage, his jealousy, his anger, and his control. And he'll say things like, "You think you better than me?" Or "That little job ain't all that, it ain't nothing. I could have did that too." Or "You only got that because you a woman. They only gave you that because you a woman." And you may think he's even teasing you, especially if he plays it off, right? And he tries to do it in a jokingly manner. But he's not teasing you. He's telling you how he really feels. And when the envy gets really bad, he'll humiliate you in front of others, sabotage opportunities for you, and even get hostile with you to feel like he has some kind of power over you. He might can't work the room like you or shine like you, but he can punch you in your face and make you cry and ball up on the floor. And in some kind of sick way, it makes him feel like a winner or that he's above you. One of my favorite movies is Tina Turner. What's Love Got to Do with It? Y'all, I love that movie. And I haven't watched it in a while, and I just might go in there and watch it tonight. But the point I want to make is that the more successful Tina became, the more abusive Ike became. When crowds started cheering her name instead of his, he couldn't stand it because he was the one used to being in the limelight and playing the guitar and singing. And now Tina had come, and to him, it felt like she'd taken over because everyone who saw her loved her. And I remember that part when one of these high executives or one of the people in the company, this big company, came to her and she recorded that Rag Doll song or something. I love that song. But it gets stronger every day. Y'all know this song. I ain't singing for real. But anyway, and it gets deeper. Hey, in every way. And it gets harder. Do you let me say? Whatever she say, I don't know. Y'all know I be going off. I just, oh my God, y'all pray for me. Girl, I be going all over the place. But anyway, even when she sang that song and they came to her talking about they wanted her to do it, he was like, "Ooh, you know what song we finna sing?" And they was like, "No, we just want Tina." And he hated that. And it got so bad that even, at the tail end of the movie, they show him with the gun. He brought a gun to one of her shows and had threatened to kill her. I mean, just anything to get power back over her, anything to feel like he was more than her. And even though he played a major part in helping her become who she was, it wasn't enough for him. And he let his insecurities insecurity outweigh the legacy they could have had together. He could have been like, baby, look at what we did. Look at what we built. Look at you, girl, up there shining like a star. Look at these opportunities. Look at these doors opening up. Baby, you doing the dang on thing. I'm so proud of you. You my woman. I mean, she's his woman. When your woman is doing good, that makes you look 10 times better. So I don't get that. I don't get men who are like that. And instead of building with her, he went out of his way to humiliate her, even with the cake scene when he told her to eat the cake and she didn't want it. So he shoved it down her throat. I mean, everything he did once she started coming out in the limelight, it was all about power, because in his head, she had become bigger than him. And instead of building with her and being proud of her, he let his insecurities of how talented and beautiful she was get in the way of legacy. And they could have had a beautiful life together as far, as the world goes, but his envy of her wouldn't allow it. So he became abusive instead. And, like I said, we're going to dive into that insecure aspect when it comes to men being insecure about their woman. We're going to dive into that on another day. I already got the podcast, a couple ideas written down for that. And it's going to be good. And because so many women have dealt with that, I know I have more than once, I'm ashamed to say. And even with men who had money, I've dealt with insecure men because I had something that money could not give them. But nevertheless, I don't want to get off into all of that. But some things that you need to look out for is when a man tries to downplay your achievements or ignores them completely. I mean, you get promoted and he acts like it's no big deal, or he says, oh, you just got lucky. Or like I said before, oh, you just a woman, that's why they gave it to you. Or, when the crowd is screaming your name like Tina and he doesn't even open up his mouth and say a word because he hates, how brightly you shine. Another thing you need to look out for is when he mocks your dreams, purpose, or passions. He'll call them dumb or pointless and continuously talk you out of opportunities that you yourself know would be good for you. He also gets angry or defensive when you talk about leaving. And even if he mistreats you, the idea of you moving on without him bruises his ego. And he can become very violent. And it's usually because he knows down deep within his heart that you deserve better. But because he doesn't want to be better or become the man you need him to be, he will literally try to bruise your self-esteem to keep you from leaving. And if that doesn't work, then the next thing he'll do is bruise your face. And another thing to look out for is when he starts lashing out whenever you grow. I mean, the more you start to heal, the more you start glowing or gaining confidence, is the more he tries to bring you back down. Like he tries to step on you. He hates to see you shine. But we as women have to take off the, oh, I can love him, I can help him heal blinders. We have to take that off because some of these men envy you. They're insecure. They're comparing themselves to you and they feel powerless around you. And instead of growing, they punish you for shining and for becoming who they wish they could be. And no matter how much you love this man, you cannot heal a man who hates your light, sis. You cannot fix a man who's offended by your favor, and you definitely can't pour into a man who secretly believes you don't even deserve to have what you have. And any man who would rather break you than build with you is not your partner. He's your poison. And you got to stop trying to love him into being a king when he's more comfortable with being a peasant. Because if you're a queen, then you're too high for him. And that's not a prideful thing to say, y'all. Queens belong with kings and kings belong with queens. End of story. And you got to get you somebody who's on your level mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, all of that, even above you financially. You got to get somebody who's on your level, sis. You deserve to be protected, respected, and celebrated, not tolerated, targeted, and torn down. And if he's shown you over and over again that he's intimidated by your light, then you need to let him go. And last but not least, point number 4, he manipulates your hope and delays your destiny. He knows he's not your husband. He knows deep in his spirit that he has absolutely no plans to marry you, build with you, or lead you. But instead of walking away like a man with integrity, he stays and milks your love for years. You're holding on to the fantasy, and he's holding on to the benefits. And a sign to know that this is happening to you is if he's always telling you, I just need more time, or, I've been hurt before. I don't want to be hurt again by another woman. But baby, y'all done been together for years. Or he'll say, I see us together in the future, but just not right now. And that right now becomes 5 years, then 10, then 15. And before you know it, you're in your 40s or 50s or worse, 60s with no ring, no real commitment, and nothing but broken promises and emotional exhaustion. And he buys your time by future faking you, by telling you, I'm gonna get you that ring, baby, just wait. Or he'll guilt trip you when you try to leave. You gonna leave me after all this time? And even if he does buy you a ring, sis, he never sets the date. I mean, you done had this ring for 4-5 years. Y'all been engaged for 4-5 years, longer than Adelaide and Guys and Dolls. I mean, just engaged. I think she was engaged for 14 years. I played Adelaide back in high school, y'all. That's why that just came up. I need to find those old tapes because, oh my gosh, y'all, I killed it. I love plays. I need to try to get off into some plays or something. If God let me have a little freedom, a little bit of time to do some, I would love to do something like that. But anyway, I'm sorry, y'all, off track. Nevertheless, you done been engaged for 14 years, sis. I mean, and still don't got a wedding date. I mean, just foolishness. Or he pops up with the convenient crisis and he tells you, I'm just not in a good place mentally. Meanwhile, your youth, your dreams, and your self-worth quietly decay in the background because you keep trying to prove your loyalty to him, thinking that if you love him hard enough, then he'll finally choose you. And you're waiting on him to choose you year after year after year. But in reality, he's already chosen, sis. He chose not to grow. He chose not to lead. And he chose not to make you his wife. And the sad truth is, he will block your real husband from finding you because your heart is still occupied with the counterfeit. And some things that you need to look out for is if he's always almost ready, but never takes action. Like I said, years go by with no real steps toward marriage, healing, or stability. He keeps you in a cycle of waiting and hoping. There's always a new excuse, a new delay, or a new crisis when it's time to commit. Another thing you need to look out for is if you're growing, but the relationship is not. You've gotten older, you've matured, you've come more wiser, you've elevated and sacrificed, you're booming in your career, your job, but everything that has to do with him feels stuck. And lastly, you need to watch out for a man who uses time as a tool to manipulate you. We've been together this long. You gonna leave me now? You might as well stay, baby. We've been together for 5-10 years. Where you gonna go? But just because you've spent years with someone doesn't mean you owe them the rest of your life. Time invested does not equal destiny fulfilled. I'm gonna say that again. Time invested does not equal destiny fulfilled. He knows how to say just enough to keep you hanging on like a carrot on a stick. And while you're waiting on that proposal, that future, that one day, you're missing out on what God actually has for you. And this isn't just about heartbreak, sis, but this is about your destiny being delayed. Because every year you give to a man who's not assigned to you is a year your purpose gets put on pause. And the man who will come into your life and love you with his whole heart, for real, he's just sitting, waiting. And you better pray God doesn't give him to somebody else because of your disobedience, baby, because God does replace. And this goes for the men too. Because you don't know what your future spouse is going through right now. You don't know what your future husband is going through right now, sis. He could be on his knees praying and crying out to God. But because you want to play with Bobo the hobo, God can't release him. because God is not the author of confusion. He is not going to give you your person when your heart is still entangled with a man who has no intention of marrying you or covering you, or when you're still out here playing. He's just not going to do it. And the thing I really need to get through y'all's head is this time concept thing, because I promise it has kept so many women bound. But you are not obligated to stay in a relationship just because you've already given it so much, just because it's been years. I don't care that you've been knowing this man since high school and y'all got 2 babies together. I don't care that you've been together with him for 5 years and he's taking you on a couple of trips and he keeps promising to marry you, but he never does. I don't care about any of that, and neither does God, because he will send you a man who will love you better in 2 months, baby, 2 weeks, than that man did in 20 years. And you'll be kicking yourself in the butt, wondering why you didn't leave that scrub sooner. You are allowed to walk away and choose purpose over pity, destiny over delay, and clarity over confusion. And you need to break every soul tie that has stolen your youth or tried to steal it and tried to convince you otherwise. And you also need to break every tie that has you stuck in cycles of almost there. And once you break these cycles and clear your heart and your house out, you need to pray to God and give him your heart again and tell him to keep it until he deems a man trustworthy enough to hold it. You need a man who's going to be safe, sis. You need a man who's gonna be safe. And that's in all areas. You need a man who's safe emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially. And he ain't got to be no King Solomon, but he does need to be established. And there is nothing wrong with that. Y'all, there's nothing wrong with a man being established. I've dated men who were extremely wealthy, and then I've dated men who were not. Only a couple of them, but I still dated them. I dated a man once, many years ago, and we dated for about 3 months, y'all, and it was just so foolish. Like, this man had absolutely nothing. No car, no house, not even an apartment. He was making, $10, $11 an hour and still living at home with his mama talking about he wanted to be a rapper. And within those few months before I left, I found myself making all the plans financially, pulling out my credit card for dates and buying this and buying that. And that's just, oh my God, I had no respect for him. And I had to go. And I will never do that again. And a man won't make me feel guilty because he doesn't have himself together, saying oh, you don't want to mess with me. You don't want to give me a chance because I ain't rich. When baby, being rich has absolutely nothing to do with it. But I do expect you to be established by the age of 40. And, I'm 31, but the reason I said 40 is because I usually date older men anyway. They got to be at least 5 to 10 years older than me for me to even take them seriously. And I have nothing against, the younger guys. I've had younger guys try to talk to me, baby. I had somebody 22 try to talk to me. I said, baby, you a baby. I can't do nothing with you. And even if I did try to date somebody younger, which I won't because, the situation that I'm in, but even if they would just have to be extremely mature. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would have to have themselves together and be mature. But nevertheless, I am not looking for a 40-year-old man to be doing the same things a 25-year-old is doing. I am not looking for him to tell me that he's still trying to figure it out, like he 20 or 21 and he going from house to house. Baby, no. You need to go get the woman you can afford, because I, Takyah Monet Love, require more. And a man who doesn't have anything will not make me feel guilty because I require more. Like, I am not volunteering for struggle love to prove to anybody that I'm a good Christian woman or that I'm down or that I'm not materialistic, because I already know that I'm not. And if a man thinks I'm finna volunteer for foolishness and struggle love just to show him that I'm a kind woman, then baby, think again. Don't volunteer me, volunteer your mama. Like, let her go down the street and move Bobo, the homeless crackhead, into her house. Let her go and fix him up and clean him up and wine and dine him and sex him up and let him leech off of her for the rest of her life. And I'ma see if you still feel the same way. Yeah, don't come to me with that, period. Not the hood side. Y'all, the hood side about to come out. But I'm serious though. Like, don't come to me with that mess. Baby, don't come to me with that. Go to your mama with that. I know I'm high value, but I also know that I'm worth it. I'm worth the price. I'm worth the effort. I'm worth a man changing himself, looking in the mirror and becoming better to get me. I am telling you, baby, whoever I end up marrying, that man gonna have so much favor. He gonna be overwhelmed with the favor that God gonna put on his life. Baby, the way I walk with Jesus, he gonna be like, I should have married you 10 years ago. That's how he gonna be. I am high value, and I'm also hard to find. And even God said that, y'all. God said that thousands of years ago when he gave that to Solomon, because scripture is inspired by the Spirit of God. He said, who can find a virtuous woman? What price can you give for her? For her worth is far above rubies. So even if you got hundreds of thousands of millions of billions, her worth is far above it all, because the value that she'll bring to your life is just, it's gonna surpass it all. And you're not finding women like me. You're not finding women like that walking up the street every day. And I know it. And men, sometimes they hate me because I know it. Because now that I know it, that means that they have to honor me as such. But if basic kindness and honor and treating me sweet and treating me like God said you're supposed to treat me, and like God said you're supposed to honor his daughter, if that's too much for you, then you just gotta go get less and enjoy it once you get it. And I have absolutely nothing against that. That's your prerogative. What Bobby Brown say is my prerogative. That's right. Do your thing. Do your thug thizzle and enjoy it. But the price is still the price over here. And I don't want y'all to think that I'm just this blah, blah, because I'm not. Like, I have absolutely nothing against men who are building. But I do have something against men who are not building and who are only pretending to be doing something. But in reality, they're at home playing video games while you go work a 12-hour shift Monday through Saturday. I do have a problem with that, because as a man, one of the main things that you're supposed to do is to be a provider. And there's so many more attributes to men, but that is one of the main things that even God himself says. And another thing that I've noticed, like, about broke men, and I promise I'm done, y'all, but another thing that I've noticed about dating men who have had nothing, now I've only dated about 2 of them, but the thing that I've noticed about dating men who have nothing, not even a dream, is that they are some of the meanest men I've ever met. I mean, meaner than a junkyard dog, baby. And they're nasty, and they're very, very angry. And the wealthy men that I have dated has been some of the most sweetest, kindest, giving men. Now, I've ran into, a couple men who were shot to the curb, like they wealthy and prideful, and it's just so ugly, like ill. But the majority of the wealthy men that I've dated have been kind because they have so much to give. And that is another reason why I will not date a man who has nothing, because if he is unaccomplished and unfulfilled, then he'll take it out on the weaker vessel. He'll take it out on me. And instead of praying to God, asking God, which way he should go, instead of coming up with a game plan and networking and getting around the right people who can help him bring his vision to life, he want to slap me up and down the living room walls and punch me till I go flying down the hallway like a rag doll. Baby, I don't think so. I mean, weak men, sis. Men who hate themselves and hate you. But anyway, God has better, but you first got to believe that. You got to believe that God has better for you, sis, because belief, that's the first thing. That's the foundation for God being able to send you your husband. You got to believe that God even has a wonderful man out there for you. And if he's called you to marriage, he does. He does. But you have got to stop playing with the leech first. You've got to let this leech go. Stop him from draining you and sucking you of all of your resources. You got to give your heart back to God. Ask God to help heal you and clean you up and get you ready for the man that's going to come in and add to your life, not take away. And with that being said, I'm done, Godly Chicks. I love you girls so much. I know that this was a tough one. Not as tough as last one, y'all. Last week, the placeholder was rough, okay? I know that was rough. I didn't want to be, too hard on y'all with this one today, even though I know, it probably still, ruffled up some feathers. But nevertheless, we have got to understand our worth. You've got to understand your value. You've got to start healing. You've got to start loving yourself, sis, so that you can be prepared to receive the man that God actually does have for you. And so you can just be a better woman overall. You cannot be who God has created you to be with this man leeching off of you and draining you. You cannot do it. You got to let him go. You got to get rid of him. And if you needed confirmation, take this as your confirmation to set yourself free and ask the Lord to help you get out of this situation. Because like I said, some of these men are violent. And, unfortunately, when they get used to life being a certain way and used to leeching off of you and you try to snatch the rug from up under them, it can be scary. And I know, a couple girls who have died, and it's sad, but that goes back to stopping these men at the very beginning, not even allow them to leech off of you in the first place. But if you find yourself there, pray and ask the Lord for a way of escape. As a matter of fact, pray and ask the Lord to send him another woman so that he can leech off of her. Well, pray and do something, sis. I ain't trying to put another woman in harm's way, but I'm trying to help you get free. Okay? I know a girl who prayed that, and God sent him another woman, and she got free, and then he tried to come back, but she was already free, and she used that as the excuse to stay free, and he with somebody else now, leeching off a third woman. But, she used that as the excuse. Once he left, like, she was pretending to be heartbroken and all that, but she was happy that he had left, and when he tried to come back, she used that as an excuse. No, you left me for Susie, so now you got to stay with Susie, and she was able to use that and to stay free, and the guilt was on him, even though he didn't know that she was jumping and shouting for joy. But nevertheless, I've heard women pray that. But pray whatever, the Lord leads you to pray, and ask him for wisdom on how to get out of this situation, okay? I love you, girls. I cannot wait until next week. We're going to dive a little bit deeper with next week's episode, and I love you, girls, so much, and I pray that this podcast blessed you. If it did, please like the podcast, share the podcast, comment on the podcast, subscribe if you have not subscribed already. I don't know what y'all waiting for, but the podcast be podcasting, okay? So subscribe and share it with your girlies, share it with your friends, because we all need this wisdom, we need this knowledge, and we need to be getting ourselves ready for the man that God has for us. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, girls. See you next Friday. Thank you for listening to the Godly Chik Podcast. Tune in next Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear the continuation of Season 2, where we will be discussing topics and stories that are all about love. Don't forget to follow Godly Chik Ministries on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Godly Chik. That's GODLYCHIK. And always remember, when you know who's you walking with, it ain't hard to be a godly chick. Have a blessed day, and I look forward to having you all here with me next week. For my minute scenes.